welcome to this video. Today we are going to be making 4 different meals that are easy to make, simple ingredients, simple instructions. I'm a simple girl. I like my chicken tenders, fries, simple childlike foods. So these are meals that I actually think taste good, are easy to make, are actually healthy. Without further ado, let's just get into the first recipe. For this recipe, you're just going to need your spaghetti squash, marinara sauce, mozzarella cheese, avocado oil, and ground beef. And I also used red pepper and Italian seasoning. Our next step is going to be poking holes in our squash using a fork. So you can see here, I'm just going around the whole squash, putting a bunch of holes in it so that it does not explode when we put it in the microwave. Now that we have our holes poked in our squash, we are gonna put it in the microwave. And what I like to do is I put it in here for 3 minutes at a time, typically for a total of 20 minutes. Then we are going to cut our squash in half. You're gonna need to give it some time after taking it out of the microwave to let it cool off, and then you will just slice it in half long ways like so. We are then going to scoop out the seeds. I like to use a spoon for this. After we do that, we are going to go ahead and get our ground beef cooking, and once I have it pretty much fully cooked, I go ahead and add the marinara sauce to it, as you can see here, and then just stir it up really well, and then I allow it to keep on simmering for a little bit longer. Now that we are done microwaving our squash, we are going to be able to start scooping it into our 9x9 glass pan. Once we are done getting all of the squash into our pan, we are going to pour our marinara sauce in there with it, and we are going to just go ahead and stir it up, get it all mixed evenly, and then once we have it evenly mixed up, we are going to put it in the oven. The oven at this point is going to be set at 350, and we are going to put it in there for about 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes is up, we are going to take it out, mix it up some more to make sure the heat is evenly distributed. We want our squash to be nice and soft. And then, as you can see, we're going to put our mozzarella cheese on top. I like to get some mozzarella cheese mixed in. That's what we're doing here. We're just mixing that cheese in with everything else. And at this point, we are also mixing in our beef mixed with marinara sauce. Before we put it back in the oven, we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle a nice, beautiful layer of mozzarella cheese on the top. We're gonna put it back in the oven for about 10 minutes. Here we have the finished product. You can see this looks so delicious, and I just love that it's healthy while also being so yummy. So for this second meal, just know that I meant to film all of the preparation parts to show you, and I forgot to film the whole thing. This is a Crockpot meal. It takes 4 to 6 hours to cook. I typically put it on high and cook it for 4 hours, so I started around 1 or 2 o'clock. So it's ready for dinner. I'm gonna show you what materials are needed. I really like that this is such a simple recipe, very quick to put together, so let me show you. We are essentially using 3 to 4 ingredients for this meal. First of all, 3 or 4 potatoes cut up in small squares, 2 cans of veggies. You can do your choice, but I like to do a mixed vegetable can, as well as a bean, either pinto beans or dark red kidney beans. When I put these cans in, I put these on top after everything else has been thrown in the crock pot. I also pour all of the liquid in the cans. It all goes in the crock pot, and then there's the perfect amount of liquid for my preference. So that's how I do that. But typically I'll chop up the potatoes first and just kind of dump them in the bottom of the crock pot. Season them with Italian seasoning, garlic powder, and onion powder, and sometimes red pepper. And then I cut up the chicken, again in small squares, season them with the same seasonings, also just kind of layer that on the next layer, and then, like I said, I pour the canned veggies on top, and then do yet another layer of seasoning. So I'll show you what this looks like then, the finished product as it's cooking. So here is the almost final product. it's not done cooking, but you can see the veggies on top and you can see some of the chicken. I really like the ease of this meal and how much it makes. It takes me about 25 minutes to prep it, sometimes even less. When you're using the canned veggies, it really helps to make it a quicker process. And like I said, it takes 4 to 6 hours to cook. I'm not very good at calculating how many servings, but we definitely have leftovers. 2 people will have leftovers at least for the next day. It kind of depends how much chicken you use, how many potatoes you use, all of that good stuff. But I love this meal. You get lots of protein, lots of veggies, and fiber. There's a lot of fiber in beans. So if you use pinto beans, kidney beans, whatever it is, very good source of fiber. We have a very good source of potassium from the potatoes, and it's very tasty. That is all for this meal. I'm gonna get started on a potato soup crock-pot recipe. So it has currently been about 2 hours since I started the crock pot. It's been on high for those 2 hours. The potatoes are really soft. I started just kind of squishing them with this just to show you how soft they are. I'm going to continue to just kind of mush them, squish them just with what I have. And then I'm going to turn it on low. It no longer has to be on high. It's been doing a good job. Everything's nice and soft. So I am now adding 1 can of evaporated milk. And like I said, it's on low. And it's been a total of only like 3 hours. And it's pretty much ready at this point. To be making a simple chicken noodle soup. So let me take you through, show you the ingredients. I'm trying to keep it pretty simple. I know the potato soup recipe kind of had a lot of ingredients, and that's not my normal. The less ingredients, the better. Let's get into this recipe. Here are the ingredients. I prefer to use chicken thighs. It's just so much more tender. And then of course we've got celery to chop up, carrots to chop up, we've got green onion, chicken broth, we've got our noodles. You could use whatever kind of noodle you want. And then we've got garlic powder, Italian seasoning, minced onion. We've got our jar of minced garlic and avocado oil. Now seasonings, you can switch things up. You can use whatever seasonings you want, of course, and you can use whatever oil you want. And then of course we're gonna use salt. Now our setup for this, we're gonna have a big pot for the soup, and we're going to have a frying pan for our chicken. The first thing we're gonna do is get our chicken and chop it up, cut off any of the fat, and chop it up into smaller pieces, and then we're gonna start cooking that first. Now that we've got our chicken in the pan, I'm just gonna go ahead and season it really well. So I'll get some garlic powder. I'm not gonna put a bunch on since I'm gonna use the minced garlic as well. And then we're gonna put Italian seasoning, and we're gonna salt it. Definitely be generous. I'm always generous with seasoning my chicken. I'm not putting a lot on right now, but I'm going to put even more on after this video. So now that we've got our chicken cooking over there, I'm gonna start chopping up the vegetables. So I just have 3 celery sticks that we're gonna chop up, and then just kind of a handful of carrots. I don't measure anything, so I'll show you how much I'm using, but I'm gonna chop these up now, and then that's all the chopping I need to do for this meal because I already chopped up my green onion. So let's get the celery and carrots chopped up. So I went ahead and I got the chicken broth, about 3 cups of chicken broth in here, and the carrots, about 3/4 of a cup of carrots, and the celery are in here. I'm just gonna toss in some green onion. Again, I don't really measure anything, I just do what looks good. And as you can see, I already put some Italian seasoning in here, so I'm just gonna get about like a teaspoon of our minced garlic in there, and I'm just gonna throw in some garlic powder, minced onion, and Italian seasoning, as well as probably some red pepper flakes, crushed red pepper. I really like a nicely seasoned anything. We're gonna get this heating up, and our chicken will be ready to be added whenever. So at this point, the chopped up veggies have been in the broth and cooking for about 15 minutes because I like my carrots to be nice and soft. So at this point, I am going to add about a tablespoon or 2 of butter, as well as our noodles. I'm going to do about like 2/3 a cup of these noodles, then simmer for about 10 minutes until they get soft. I'm also adding the chicken to our broth and veggies at this time, same time as I'm adding the noodles in, and then this will be done.